Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining this virtual video conference, and I know many of you have gotten used to this routine of meeting either via telephone or teleconference, and we're going to figure it out, that's for sure. I want to thank a lot of people who are here today from rural North Carolina. As many of you know, I grew up in Nash County, educated in the Nash County public schools. My mom was a public school teacher there. I grew up cropping tobacco every summer until I went to college, and I am so grateful for the rich heritage of rural North Carolina, and I'm grateful for our state and the good things that we've been able to do for North Carolina over the past few years. Before this pandemic hit, I think we were making significant strides in rural North Carolina. We had been able to aim a lot of our economic development recruiting there, and you're going to hear some about that today, and we're continuing in that effort. Our Hometown Strong initiative had worked to bring counties and towns together to use their influence to bring the state government there and to try to make connections to make improvements throughout our state. When this pandemic came, it changed the way we all lived. It made us not be able to visit family and to conduct business in the way that we normally would. Not sitting in the church pew on Sunday has been really difficult for a lot of us, and we can't hug and shake hands and do the things that we used to do. But I know this, North Carolinians are strong and resilient, and we'll get through this, and we'll come out even better on the other side. I've worked to push for three things. Number one, to make sure that people infected with COVID-19 get good medical treatment. Number two, to slow the spread of the virus, and the people of North Carolina have come together to be successful at flattening the curve, and that's positive. And the third thing is to cushion the economic blow. We've got a lot of work to do in this area. We're pushing hard unemployment benefits out there, small business loans, stimulus package, the PPP, the stimulus checks to people, working to get money into the system until we can reignite the economy. And I put forward a strong three-phase program where we hope to look at science, evidence, and facts, keep people safe, but reignite our economy. One of the things that's been striking is that this pandemic has put a spotlight on issues that, or should we say challenges, that rural North Carolina has faced for decades. Number one, we know more than ever that we need high-speed internet access to every part of North Carolina. We need it now for the remote learning for our children as they're having to finish out the school year with remote learning. We know it from the telemedicine that we need these days, with a lot of at-risk people being able to communicate with their medical providers without having to actually go in. And we know that we need continued economic development and continued support for our agriculture. Just got off the phone with Vice President Pence, many people in our agriculture community, along with our protein, meat processing plants, trying to keep them open, realizing that agriculture is one of the main drivers in the North Carolina economy, and that we've got to keep this food supply strong. I want to thank each one of you for your leadership, and your leadership is important, reminding people to continue to social distance. We're going to emerge from this better than ever, but one thing we know is that this virus will be with us until a vaccine is created. And that means we're going to have to live in a new normal. We're going to get our economy reignited. We're going to get people back to work. But we also know that we must keep people safe. And that means social distancing. And that means good hygiene. That means taking care of our employees and our customers. And I believe that together we will do that. Thank you for all you do. I look forward to people in my administration coming forward and telling you about things that are going on. Jeremy Collins Quinn Godwin, Caroline Farmer, our Secretary of Commerce, Tony Copeland, our Secretary of Department of Information Technology, Tracy Dotes. Patrick Woody will be coming to talk to you. Pryor Gibson, head of our Hometown Strong team. We have a lot of strong people coming to tell you. Ben Money from the Department of Health and Human Services. They'll be telling you some good things that you need to know to continue your strong leadership in your communities. And we're one North Carolina. We're going to get through this together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Governor Cooper, not only for being with us here today, but for your continued courage and leadership. Greetings, fellow North Carolinians. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. My name is Quinn West Godwin. I serve as the Central Regional Field Coordinator for the 75th Governor of North Carolina, Governor Roy Cooper, in his Office of Public Engagement. I also hail from a small rural town called Pembroke in Robeson County. Governor Cooper, along with cabinet secretaries, agency staff, and thousands of state employees, have been working nonstop to fight this pandemic and help the people of North Carolina get through this tumultuous time. This is OPE's 7th weekly webcast. Our purpose is to have multi-dimensional information sharing to make sure we are available, transparent, equitable, and connecting to all North Carolina communities during this crisis. Today's program will focus on information regarding resources and services available to rural communities to help in the fight against COVID-19. We encourage you to engage with us via the YouTube stream chat or the WebEx stream where you could submit questions in real time. There are epidemiologists standing by to answer health-related questions, as well as government agency professionals to answer any leadership questions you may have. We also have members of the Hometown Strong team available to answer questions. We want to make sure these virtual sessions provide you with as much up-to-date, accurate information as possible. During our program today, we will hear from Mr. Benjamin Money, Deputy Secretary for Health Services at the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, Ms. Caroline Farmer, Director of the Office on Volunteerism and Community Service, Mr. Pryor Gibson, Director of Governor Cooper's Hometown Strong Initiative, Secretary Tracy Doakes of the North Carolina Department of Information Technology, Secretary Anthony Copeland of the North Carolina Department of Commerce, Mr. Patrick Woody, President of the North Carolina Rural Center, Graham County Manager Ms. Becky Garland, Jones County Manager Mr. Frankie Howard, and finally, Mr. Jeremy Collins, Director of the Office of Public Engagement, will address additional concerns that were submitted today and close our session. Again, thank you all for joining us this afternoon. We also encourage you to visit the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services website at ncdhhs.gov/coronavirus, where you can find other resources and information. With that being said, I invite Deputy Secretary Benjamin Money to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Quinn. Good afternoon. I want to just give you an update from DHHS, the Department of Health and Human Services. In our effort to be as transparent as possible regarding COVID-19, we've added a section to our website dashboard that has a combination of metrics that we're following. We have more details on cases in congregate settings, more detailed hospital status data, including patients hospitalized, bed availability, ventilator availability, and PPE status. Also, know that data will be driving our decisions all along the way, and I encourage you to visit WUNC-TV and view the governor and the secretary for their April 23rd press conference to understand the approach that we're taking towards reopening. It's a three-stage approach, and it's, again, data-driven, with 3 steps, including testing, tracing, and trends to guide our work, and then a 3-step opening process. Thus far, we can make an announcement about that process because we've been very successful, as Governor Cooper has mentioned, in flattening the pandemic curve in North Carolina. We've avoided medical surge, and prepared our healthcare system most effectively. This is a direct result of Governor Cooper's executive orders mandating social distancing and other precautions to slow the spread of the virus. We are also aggressively increasing our capacity to do more testing across the state. So testing, tracing, contact tracing operations. We're pleased to announce the formation of Carolina Community Tracing Collaborative. It's a new partnership with Community Care North Carolina and the North Carolina Area Health Education Centers to expand contact tracing through local health departments. So contact tracing is a process of supporting patients and notifying their contacts of exposure in order to stop the chains of transmission. So recruitment has started, and we're going to be recruiting in local and rural areas as well. The goal is to double the number of contact tracers in the state to 500, and these will be locally based positions. Anyone who's interested in applying should visit the Collaborative's webpage at www.communitycarenc.org. Special consideration will be given to those who are unemployed, who have community engagement experience, and live in the communities that they serve. We're also pleased to announce that we received a $2 million grant to support behavioral health response for COVID-19 from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. We also are expanding our use of telehealth to provide access to care to individuals that need health care, particularly doctors and clinicians that are able to deliver primary care and preventive care through telemedicine, helping people manage their conditions of asthma, diabetes, high blood pressure, and other health conditions that can put them at higher risk for complications of COVID-19. Also, we've increased the SNAP Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program allotment, and so households will be receiving their increased max allotment up through April and May. Also, there's a pandemic electronic benefits transfer card that will help families purchase food for children impacted by school closures due to COVID-19. We're partnering with DPI on that. Also, there's a SNAP online purchasing program that will allow individuals to purchase food through online retailers. We're also doing a lot with school nutrition to increase the availability of meals for children that are missing meals as a result of the school closures. And most importantly, we're assuring that we're maintaining a strong food supply chain in North Carolina. We're partnering with agriculture and other institutions to assure that our food supply chain is safe. And then in terms of housing, we've created several steps to increase the availability of housing, particularly for individuals that are at risk for eviction. So Governor put in eviction protection procedures. We also have created non-congregate sheltering programs for folks that may have COVID-19 or have been exposed and need to have an alternate place to shelter. This is a particular need for folks that are migrant and seasonal farm workers or homeless individuals. They will be a priority for this service. So for accessing these services, always remember to call 211. 211 will link you into the appropriate resources. There are operators online that are able to answer your questions and get you connected. At this time, I'd like to call up Carolyn Farmer to discuss volunteer opportunities. Carolyn?
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate the introduction. My name is Caroline Farmer. I am with Volunteer NC, the Commission on Volunteerism and Community Service for the state of North Carolina, and my boss is Governor Roy Cooper. From the beginning, we have said that this is a global problem that is going to be solved locally, which means you. It means your neighbors. It means neighbors helping neighbors. Just before this meeting, we had a gathering of 33 feeding coordinators from the counties. Obviously, it was virtual. But it was amazing to see the creativity in solving feeding problems around the state. They were talking about schools. They're talking about aging populations. They're talking about pantries, faith churches and other entities, nonprofits that are helping with the food insecurity that is going on right now. Now, I will tell you the number one complaint was volunteers. Volunteers are needed. Now, we have a website where we are posting a lot of those volunteer needs. We are also emailing out those volunteer needs to anyone who signs up. Our website is volunteernc.org. volunteernc.org. I would encourage you to go there and look at your county, your community for volunteer opportunities. Look, if you don't see something there, look in your local volunteer centers and places where people are doing feeding. Contact your local pantry. Contact a food bank. I'll give you a great example of how my talking to my own friends about how we need to step up and volunteer. We were doing a birthday celebration on Friday for one of my friends. We're going to be 6 feet apart, wearing masks and gloves, and working at a food bank. And that is the birthday party. So you can do this, your neighbors can do it, and so forth. Now, some of the creative solutions that we've seen around the state is they've got a committee together to talk about their needs. They are partnering with the counties where they are having county employees step up and do the volunteer work. They have partnered with local nonprofits or faith-based organizations who agreed to take on the Meals on Wheels portion, and another one agreed to take on the volunteer for pantries when those folks could not make it to the pantry. So there's a lot of folks doing a lot of great things around the state right now, and I would encourage everyone to look and help. If you can go to the grocery store, then you can go and volunteer and help. And if you cannot go to the grocery store, there is an organization called coronacommunity.org, which will allow you to go and double check and make sure that any deliveries you need, medical, pets, food, that those deliveries are made so you can stay safely at home. You can also sign up for a well check visit, just to have somebody check on you daily to make sure that everything's going okay and see if you have any needs. So we have volunteers who are on the back end who've agreed to help with that organization. Now, in addition to volunteers, the second thing that they complained about, other than toilet paper, everyone on their own was having problems finding toilet paper. But the second thing they complained about as a group was the food. And people are not donating food like they used to. Grocery stores are not donating food. So we want to encourage folks to make sure that they get out and partner with the groceries, their restaurants, even local farmers have gotten in. There was a potato delivery the other day, which was quite popular with the kids. So I encourage you to look locally for these solutions. The last thing I want to do is talk about, give a little shout out for Duplin Disaster Recovery, which is a long-term recovery group in North Carolina, and they got a group of churches together who got donations of food, and they were able to feed 150 families, elderly, students who needed a little extra help. That didn't take a whole lot of effort, but they made a big difference in those people's lives, and you can too. So think about opportunities and where you can step up and do those types of things. And for all of the faith-based organizations, for all the nonprofits, for all the long-term recovery groups that are out there still helping with hurricane recovery as well as coronavirus, thank you. We really appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Pryor Gibson. I'm the director of Hometown Strong, an initiative Governor Cooper put in place 2 years ago to make sure state government was delivering for local rural governments in North Carolina. A lot of folks don't know that North Carolina, other than Texas, has more rural communities than any other state in the United States. Governor Cooper recognized that sometimes rural communities are often associated with low wealth, low capacity, and other issues that make it hard to compete with those urban, robust areas that North Carolina is proud also to have. So what Hometown Strong is quite frankly common sense. We gather up some of the best managers and directors throughout every state agency, and have them come with us to visit these local communities, the counties, the towns, the organizations, and the businesses, and sit down and do what good neighbors are supposed to do. Listen. Listen to how they're doing their job, the struggles they're having, the success, the innovation that they're using. And we turn around and say, where can state government and all other cabinet agencies fit in to make their job easier? Well, quite frankly, those of us from rural North Carolina, we've been doing that forever. And a lot of times we come to a place and they say, well, what took you so long? Well, thank goodness that not only does it happen to help the local folks in their struggles and their efforts to make their communities better for their citizens, but the second benefit of this program has been the amazing transformation we've seen in state agencies. When you get down to a place like where I'm from, Nansen County, where we don't have a whole lot to work with, we're a small community in south central North Carolina, having all these state agencies together and all these decision makers ends up showing not just some of the things that we're doing well and some of the things we need help with, but by the time they leave a community and they've seen how their statewide policies and what their agencies are doing that impacts these communities, those state agencies come back and come away from this meeting a lot better public servants. So at the end of the day, what Hometown Strong is, what we've been doing in rural North Carolina all along, is when neighbors sit down and friends sit down and listen to each other and try to do the best thing for everyone. And quite frankly, it's one of the most rewarding things I've ever been able to do in my 40 years of public service. If we haven't had a chance to visit your community yet in Hometown Strong, know that you're already part of the community. Just call us on the email address or call our telephone number in the governor's office. We'll be glad to help. And if you're one of the 40 plus counties and 200 plus towns that we've already visited, yes, we are working on your priorities. Just give us a little more time. Look forward to seeing you very soon, and thank you for being part of Hometown Strong.
Thank you. Expanding broadband, which is the backbone that allows for high-speed internet, is a priority for DIT and the Broadband Infrastructure Office because access to high-speed internet is a necessity in today's society. This pandemic has elevated that need even more as we have all been forced to shift how we work, learn, interact, and receive care. School children are now learning digitally, parents are teleworking, and many healthcare appointments are now conducted virtually. From a technology standpoint, it's been exciting to see more people taking advantage of these opportunities and solutions. But at the same time, it's been frustrating to see people being left out of participating due to a lack of internet access. This is especially prevalent in the rural communities. Last year, Governor Cooper established a task force on connecting North Carolina. This task force brings together representatives from all of the cabinet agencies, as well as the governor's Hometown Strong team, to make meaningful progress to expand broadband coverage and close what is called the homework gap, when students are assigned homework that they can't complete at home because of a lack of internet access or a device. The task force made their recommendations to Governor Cooper earlier this year, and work was underway on delivering those before the COVID-19 outbreak occurred. Because of that groundwork and the ongoing work of the Broadband Infrastructure Office, as well as the Hometown Strong team, there was already a lot of momentum started in addressing this issue. And this enabled a pretty quick spin up of broadband access across the state. Many of our internet and mobile service providers have stepped up during this crisis and are offering free or reduced cost service, Wi-Fi hotspots, and devices. I want to take a moment to really let them know how much I thank them and appreciate them for their contribution. I also want to thank Governor Cooper for his leadership. Early on, he and I hosted a call with more than 90 internet service providers to ask for their support. As a result of that, more than 25 providers stepped up with new or expanded offerings of internet services, Wi-Fi hotspots, and devices. Last week, the governor announced a partnership to further help students without home internet access online learning opportunities by equipping more buses with Wi-Fi. The buses with Wi-Fi will be deployed to communities that are unserved by broadband and will allow students to turn in assignments, download materials, and to connect with their teachers. To date, this partnership will equip an additional 280 buses with Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi won't just be limited to students, though. It'll also be used for residents to connect to healthcare providers, apply for unemployment benefits, and access other critical information during this pandemic. The Broadband Office's technical support will be helping to deploy and install Wi-Fi on the buses over the coming weeks. We're finalizing the exact locations and will be providing more information shortly. We created a map of free or low-cost internet service, as well as the location of the growing number of internet providers' public Wi-Fi drive-in locations, and we'll also be adding the bus locations to this map. The web address to the map is www.ncbroadband.gov. I could talk about this issue much more, but there's simply not enough time. I'll wrap up by saying that it's unfortunate that it took a healthcare crisis to really shine a light on the struggle to get broadband access into our rural communities. I am encouraged, however, by the spirit of innovation and collaboration that I have seen while we have all navigated this evolving situation together. Moving forward, we can leverage what we have put in place during a time of crisis and bring long-term benefits of online learning and healthcare to our communities. Thank you.
And North Carolina Secretary of Commerce. It's a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. You know, even in the face of this pandemic, the work of the Department of Commerce continues. Even though our employees are working mostly from home, many of them are working with you. 2 weeks ago, our Rural Division staff and the Infrastructure Authority awarded $6.5 million for building reuse, water, sewer, natural gas services. These grants support real companies with real plans for investing, creating jobs in the rural communities. Our Rural Division serves and supports North Carolina communities with expertise as well as financial resources. Last fiscal year, we awarded nearly $120 million of grant funds on 183 projects and created 83 strategic plans for you in rural North Carolina. More recently, in the wake of COVID-19, the Rural Division staff has reached out and is reaching out to you in municipal governments and to your companies. We serve more than 300 rural towns and counties. As of last week, 39 of these meetings have been held with 81 local economic development organizations and units of government, taking the time to ask what information, assistance, and resources we can offer you to meet these needs. You know, one of the things we realize is we help you develop sites for new companies. Now with COVID-19, we're helping to recommend how to prepare when we come out of this. We've heard from county managers, town managers, mayors, planning directors, downtown developments, and all of the officials. Some of the feedback has been encouraging. Most of these we have heard from are still providing services, applying creativity and common sense. Opportunities will continue to grow out from North Carolina and rural communities. Our Rural Division staff is currently formulating guidelines for distributing $26 million in federal community development block grant funds. We will be rolling those out shortly, and they will be coming to you. Existing opportunities will emerge. The department is already planning as we come out of this and we emerge out of this pandemic, we emerge out of this unemployment scenario to be robust. You know, North Carolina's economy, we're still a sound economy. Our fundamental economy is still intact. our gross state product is still larger than Sweden. We will come back with a roar. Will it be hard? Yes, but you'll be helping us. We will keep collaborating with you, local leaders, and then I grew up in Perquimans County. I'm going to give you a story, an example of what's going on. The new mayor, Ernell Brown there, has worked with the department, worked with federal officials, and they're all getting together to get behind a realistic vision for changing the town of Hertford, where I grew up in Perquimans County. It's encouraging what they have done. They've harnessed federal grants, state grants, our expertise. They've raised private money and engaged in the best design and expertise in the region. But more than that, the elected officials and private businesses at the county and municipal levels all lend in their vocal and visible support. And they are going to move forward. Rural counties and businesses that play their cards right. The COVID pivot may mark the start of a new era, and the Department of Commerce is going to help you do that. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Woody. I'm president of the North Carolina Rural Center. It's very good to be with all of you this afternoon and with many of my friends that have come before me and come after me. And I want to say greetings to all of the Rural Center's friends from across the state. And on behalf of the staff and the board of directors of the Rural Center, we hope you're doing well, and we're thinking about you, and we're working hard on your behalf. The COVID-19 challenge for rural North Carolina is a unique one. If we've learned anything about this virus, we've learned that it loves density of population, but it has now found its way to our less dense rural communities. It is shining a bright light on the demographics of our rural communities, and it's making very clear why our rural priorities of broadband, health care, and small business development are, in fact, our top priorities. This virus is revealing all the things we already know, and the governor alluded to that earlier. 42% of all the cases right now are rural cases in our 80 rural counties. That's up from 32% of all cases just a week ago. And we expect the percentage of deaths in all cases that rural portion to also increase. And it now touches all but 2 rural North Carolina counties. So now is not the time to let our guard down or to be complacent. Now is the time to be really vigilant and really smart. Note that COVID-19 is affecting rural disproportionately due to things we all know. Median age ranges in our rural communities are higher than the state average. We also have higher levels of long-term underlying chronic health conditions among rural North Carolinians. We also know we've got a lot of work to do to address systemic barriers and the social determinants of health that exacerbate chronic disease rates. For example, these are the same communities with high rates of food insecurity, less access to medical providers, strained healthcare systems facing additional strain brought on by the pandemic. And the percentage of rural North Carolinians who fall in the health insurance coverage gap is also disproportionate. 600,000 uninsured North Carolinians, and a disproportionate share of them are rural working citizens. Because of all the things we did right in the last 2 or 3 years around the issue of broadband, when we entered this pandemic at the state and federal level, we're seeing more last-mile broadband construction going on in this state than at any time in prior memory, thanks to USDA Rural Development Reconnect program and to the Broadband Infrastructure Office's GREAT program, and also thanks to the bipartisan leadership of the governor and both houses of the General Assembly, we made remarkable progress. But as important as access is, it's only half the battle. The other half is people being able to afford it and understanding why it's a necessity to their lives. And if COVID has done anything, it's made clear the necessity of broadband deployment to every community in this state. from being able to enter your UI claim, to access the small business loan resources at federal and state levels, to filling out your census form, to telehealth access to your primary care physician for safety reasons, to your kids doing their homework, to our rural university and college students who have gone home and are trying to continue their work. All of that shines a light on the importance of broadband. We're proud to lead one effort aimed at our state small business community in collaboration with Golden Leaf and 7 small business CDFI partners. The Rapid Recovery Loan Program is available to small businesses with up to 100 employees across our state, and we encourage you to go to our website, www.ncrapidrecovery.org, and check it out. We look forward to that work in the months ahead of us. And finally, let me invite all of you to attend Rural Talk, an advocacy speaker series hosted by the Rural Counts advocacy team at the Rural Center every Thursday from May 7th through June 14th at 11 a.m. Go to our website, ncruralcenter.org, click on the Rural Talks button at the top of the navigation page, and you'll be able to sign up. Topics for those one-hour conversations will include rural broadband, entrepreneurship and small business, health, housing, water, and wastewater infrastructure. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Becky Garland. I'm the County Manager and Finance Director of Graham County. We are located in the far southwestern region of North Carolina. Graham County was one of the last counties standing without the COVID-19 virus until Sunday night when we got word we had a positive. We had to take active steps to slow the spread and flatten the curve. We made a lot of people angry when we closed our roads and accommodations to encourage folks to stay at home ahead of Governor Cooper's executive order. We fully support and appreciate his continual dedication to protecting the safety of North Carolinians. We know that our continual health and safety depends on all of us working together separately. I am thankful today for a proactive board who took bold steps to protect our citizens. We have all been forced to stop and take stock of our strengths, but also take a hard look at our areas that need to be remediated, such as better emergency management planning and better funding for education and public health. So as a small rural county, we need to plan for the best ways to create a solid tomorrow. Bottom line, we need revenue stability as we are having to use fund balance reserves to front COVID expenditures. We are spending every spare moment looking for grants and applying for every type of federal and state supported aid to offset these losses. I want to thank Governor Cooper for having the foresight to plan for this support in his budget request. However, I worry that small rural counties will still struggle. Other expenditures than COVID are also adding pressure to our budget. The estimated 14% increase in the state retirement match for next fiscal year will add over $100,000 to our budget. Without relief in this area and without additional revenue support, we could be facing further furloughs and reductions in our workforce. I am confident that with a governor and state government that supports revenue stabilization and appropriate levels of funding for our next generation to prosper, that our state and local governments can provide the support our communities need to recover and thrive. I hope that our leaders will see this situation as a golden opportunity to think ahead with programs to get people working and to wisely use our tax dollars to help rebuild our economy and our future. Being a history buff, I remember hearing the stories of how my grandpa and his brothers worked toward greater prosperity in the New Deal. Graham County was built by local workers under the WPA. Our historic courthouse and all of our infrastructure were WPA programs. People maintained their dignity, not expecting a handout, but through working for a better future. My generation reaped the benefits of this New Deal. Our nation and our state need to use our tax dollars to rebuild infrastructure and to build out the infrastructure for broadband today, putting people back to work and putting our economy back on its feet so that the next generation can prosper. Providing appropriate budgetary support through wise investments in people and our infrastructure will reap a great return. Franklin Delano Roosevelt said it best: we have always held to the hope, the belief, the conviction that there is a better life, a better world beyond the horizon. We are all in this together looking for a better day. Thank you.
All right, this is Frankie Howard coming to you from Jones County. First off, just wanted to thank the governor's office and the Hometown Strong initiative for reaching out to me and allowing me to be a part of this conversation at the statewide level. It's certainly something Jones County has a lot of experience in dealing with as far as communication goes during a disaster. It's been challenging, as it has been for all counties across the state. Here in Jones County, we have been grateful to have been blessed with a few grants in the past year or so to assist with things such as broadband deployment and purchasing some additional communication tools, which has put us in a position to be more ready for when situations like this happen. One of the things that was a product of Hurricane Florence was the idea of doing a weekly news segment, which later we dubbed the Jones County Chat. We were also this was a partnership with our local Jones County Center of the Lenore Community College. We were there doing a advisory council meeting, and the idea of having a locally community ran news segment came about. And we learned from Hurricane Florence that we were not only stranded physically, but technologically as well. So we wanted some tools to be able to get things out to the community at a moment's notice. And fortunately, the community college staff went for a community foundation grant, and they were successful in getting that. So we were able to get some tools, some equipment, and we have continued to do the Jones County Chat, as well as record the county commissioners meetings, which was the first time for us doing that. And that has been very widely received throughout the county and across the county lines for folks to be able to participate in the county commissioners meetings that have a hard time maybe traveling or getting to the meetings at the times we have them. So that was a product of Hurricane Florence, and we've continued to be able to use those tools during this COVID-19 crisis to allow people to see our meetings with not actually physically being at the meetings. So that's been very timely during this COVID-19. We are also fortunate to have partners like Eastern Carolina Broadband that have worked, they have received the GREAT grant through the state, and they have beginning to deploy their broadband network throughout the county, which has helped folks be more able to remote work and learn as our schools are out. And one thing that they stood up and did throughout Eastern North Carolina was deploy drive-up broadband sites, which we were able to help them do that at our Jones County Courthouse. So now folks can drive up there and access free broadband internet to help with either their work or their schooling right here in Trenton. So that's been a blessing. So we've certainly learned from our past experiences. As you can tell, what the old saying goes, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. So with every disaster here in Jones County, we have learned and we have improved our system and process better. I've been here for going on 13 years and certainly seen a few storms while I've been here, hurricanes and things that have made us better at what we do at local government. So going into this COVID-19 crisis, as you can see, we had the tools and the system in place to keep our county citizens and residents informed at a moment's notice. We had the following and a subscriber base with our Jones County Facebook page that allowed us to reach a good majority of Jones County citizens. And we also have news media outlets outside the county who follow our page. And so they develop stories once we post them to our Facebook page, and it just continues to get that information out. And we have a great team there at Magic Mile Media over in Kinston who has helped us produce segments of Jones County Live or Jones County Chat on a live basis weekly through the technology that's available today to get information out. And folks have been well received. They like the fact that we're being transparent with the data and information that we have available to us as we learn every day how this COVID-19 situation changes. As a rural county, we have been doing our best to continue operations to serve our citizens and keep our staff and citizens safe. With that, we've sorry about that, the lights are going out. We have, shift work our employees to keep them less exposed. And we have gone to appointment only and drive through status for certain functions of county government. With that, I just again thank you, the staff at the Hometown Strong, PJ Conley, for reaching out to me, and look forward to this conversation and doing what we can to help inform folks across the state. Thank you.
YouTube. My name is Jeremy Collins. I direct the Governor's Office of Public Engagement. On behalf of Governor Cooper, 75th Governor of the State of North Carolina, 87,000 state employees, I want to thank you all again for being with us, for being a part of this exchange of information. I want to thank all the participants today. Of course, the Governor, my friend and colleague, Quinn Godwin, Ben Money, Caroline Farmer, Prior Gibson, Secretary Dokes, and Secretary Copeland, along with Patrick Woody of the Rural Center, Ms. Becky Garland, and Mr. Frankie Howard. The information that we put out today is intended to help us recover quicker. I want to bring a few things to light. I want to remind you a few things while we're going through this pandemic that we should keep our eyeballs on. First of all is the census. The census is still here. I want to remind everyone to take 10 minutes to shape your future. The web address is my2020census.gov. The rural communities are adversely impacted by a lack of responding. And so we know that rural communities are shaped by resources from those responses to the census. So we want you to fill it out. Take the time, even if you haven't received something in the mail telling you to fill it out, now is the time to make that happen. And so we've got a little bit more time. We want to remind all of our community members to fill out the census. I tell people all the time that North Carolina isn't so much Raleigh and Durham and Charlotte, and Greensboro, all those places are uniquely North Carolina, but North Carolina is really those corridors outside of 95, to the east of 95 and to the west of 85. If you want to get to know North Carolina, you got to go to Madison County. If you want to get to know North Carolina, you got to go to my hometown, Martin County, which is a little place called Dardens. If you've ever been to Nags Head by way of Highway 64, you rode right through Dardens. It's when you're leaving Martin County to go into Plymouth, North Carolina, right as you go down the hill. We call that the hill. Just a small community, and one of the things that really makes North Carolina special. So I got to shout out Dardens in this space as well. But to call attention also to a few more issues that were raised online. Another is planning for reopening. Should businesses consider themselves in some form of stay-at-home into the month of June? The governor has already outlined a plan, a three-phased approach to reopening or stimulating, we should say, North Carolina's economy. We want to be real clear. The governor didn't close the state of North Carolina. A coronavirus, a pandemic caused us to make some changes to the way we engage and interact with each other. But what the governor has done, along with health experts, has put in place a phased approach to controlling the spread and flattening the curve. And so in the light, the governor has put in place a phased approach to stimulating the economy. And so when you ask about should we plan to be in some form of phased stay at home into the month of June, very likely so. We know that the COVID experience, the COVID crisis isn't going anywhere between now and June 1st or even July 1st. Will we be at the same level of stay at home? Likely not. But you have a lot to play in that. One of the reasons that we put protections in place is to, again, slow the spread, flatten the curve. But if we got more people out, more people going to restaurants, more people congregating in large numbers, that only delays our ability to see positive growth, to see positive trends. And so the idea is for us to begin to phase out the stay at home starting May 8th. But we will not be completely in the clear by June 1st. All the models are telling us this is something that will not have gone by that time. And according to how we handle it, according to how well we social or physical distance and wash our hands and not touch ourselves in the face and not touch other people, that will also control whether or not this thing comes back in the fall. And so we should be planning to be in some form of physical distance, socially responsible way of interacting over the next several months. Another issue that came up was this of broadband, and I want to call back up a web address that we pulled up earlier, ncbroadband.gov. We want to make sure that you go to that website and let us know if you have concerns around broadband access. And I also got to shout out another former small town mayor, Bernie Sanders, from Washington County, a little place called Roper, North Carolina. We've had folks that have been talking about broadband access and broadband expansion for many, many years, and we know that sometimes situations allow us to shift. They force us, they compel us to shift our priorities. And so we want to shout out our small town leaders that I know Hometown Strong has been there. I was a part of that visit. I want to shout out former Mayor Bernie Sanders for ringing the alarm on that. This is something that at one point was something we may be able to talk about, but now it's absolutely critical. Have to do that. And so ncbroadband.gov, let us know what we can do to serve your community in that way. I want to also call, just before I close, a comment that was made earlier by one of our presenters, Ms. Becky Garland, who's the county manager over in Graham County, and she referenced the New Deal in 1933. And for all you history buffs out there, this was a stimulus that the United States put in place in response to the Great Depression. And we are now in an economic place of depression where many of our states, we do not have the interstate commerce that we need. Our businesses want to recover. But I hope that we will learn a lesson from history, because one of the failings of the New Deal was that it shut out minorities and it shut out community members that remain harmed for years to come, for decades to come, for generations to come. And we have an opportunity now to structure any new deal, any new stimulus, any new contract with our citizens to include minority communities, marginalized communities, the poor, rural, those who have been disenfranchised. And now the legislature is in session. The governor has put forth a robust measure to make sure that we are all recovering, that we're all equitably benefiting from stimulus. You know, the SBA has made resources available. We know many small hubs, many African-American businesses, many minority businesses were shut out of that process at the banking level. So this is our opportunity to look back on 2023 to be different than 1933 and say that when we have these new deals, when we have these new contracts where people can actually flourish and thrive in the wake of a depression, in the wake of a crisis, that we did it equitably and that we did it fairly. Finally, I want to thank you all just for being with us. And so your presence here is part of it, watching this information, but watching this information isn't enough. Visit the websites. Go to Corona Community and sign up to volunteer. If you're a state employee, make sure that you're staying in contact with your HR director, but that you're also volunteering in your communities. Let your voice be heard. If you have ideas about the way that we should recover, or any stimulus ideas about benefits for small businesses or communities, go to the governor's website, governor.nc.gov. You can actually contact us directly. Let us know what your ideas are. We're here to serve you. We're here to incorporate your ideas. And finally, once you've done all those things, remember that being at home, being physically distanced, it's not so much about social isolation. We want you to be connected in community. We're just trying to help you and help our neighbors. So with that, thank you all for being with us this week. Please let us know how we can help and serve you. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.